Hi everyone! So today we are going to be discussing all about our African pygmy goats' diet and habitat. So African pygmy goats come from, surprise surprise, Africa. Now these are actually West African pygmy goats and they are the smallest type of goat in the world. So they are a slightly peculiar body shape. They have very little legs, which makes their bellies look very, very big and round. Something we often get asked is, are your goats pregnant? When they're not pregnant, because two of them are boys, and Bangles is definitely not pregnant. But their peculiar body shape just means that sometimes they do look like they might be pregnant. African pygmy goats are browsers, not grazers. So what I mean by this is grazers are animals that typically have quite a flat mouth. If you think like a cow, they've got particularly flat lips and they spend all of their day grazing on grass. So they literally will just move from grass to grass. They don't actually spend a lot of time being picky about the grass they eat. Whereas goats are browsers, so their nose is pointed, it's quite narrow, and because of this mouth shape, Paul, what are you doing? You're not being helpful. So because of this mouth shape, they would like to spend their time finding the best food. Their mouth is perfectly shaped for going into bushes and eating the best bit of the leaves that they find, isn't it? You are being such a pride. Eating the best bit of leaves that they can find. So they are very picky, and which is why that they are called browsers, because they would go and find the browse that they want to eat. And browse just literally means leaves off of trees or bushes. That's browse. So this is what they would naturally eat in the wild. They spend quite a lot of their day finding food, and they eat very, very, very quickly. So they actually only chew the food enough just to literally wet it, enough to be able to swallow it. Paul, that's my arm. Be able to wet it enough to swallow it. You just want head rubs, don't you? And they later digest their food. So they are they're ruminants. They have got 4 stomachs, and when they eat their food initially, it goes into their first stomach. They then later, when they found a nice safe space to sit and eat or stand and eat, they ruminate and they sick the food up into their mouth from their first stomach, and then they chew the food before swallowing it again. So this is called chewing the cud, and you'll often see ruminants, you'll see something just move on their neck and then suddenly they'll start chewing, and that's when they've literally just been sick and they are chewing again. You are in such a playful mood. So I've got Paul being a pain here, Bangles is attacking my back, and John is playing with my shorts. Clearly this video is going well, isn't it? You just want to play. Oh. African pygmy goats' natural habitat would be living more towards like in scrublands, so where there are plants and bushes and shrubs that they can eat from. So they wouldn't live obviously in a desert, and they also aren't very well suited to living in like a rainforest or a tropical forest. They would prefer to live in the scrublands where there is some stuff that they can eat. They need their bellies to be constantly moving. That's a sign of good digestion. So obviously the quantity of food that they are going to need to eat in the day needs to be enough to be able to keep their bellies nice and active. In fact, it's one of the first things we look for in our goats when they are unwell. We listen to their bellies and we feel their bellies, because it's quite often the thing that could potentially go wrong with the goat is their digestion. And if we can hear their bellies, if we can hear like ocean sounds when we listen to their belly, we know that they're in good health. That is right into my top hole. Ah, they're just loving all the attention. Yes, and that's my trousers. I'm just getting mobbed by goats. This is going very well. Come here, come have cuddles. There we go. They're very itchy at the moment because their winter coat's coming out to make way for their spring coat. So they are really enjoying having a good scratch and getting all of that out. At the Arc Centre, we feed our goats a variety of things. Typically they get some goat pellets during the day. It looks a little bit like a muesli. So typically they would get that first thing, and they also get fresh hay as well. So with Bangles, because her coat's never been particularly good, we do also rinse the hay just to make sure that there's nothing in there that can be giving her any form of allergic reaction. We don't know if she's allergic to hay or to the hay dust, but we think it's better to err on the side of caution since we know that her skin does struggle from time to time. At the moment, given that we're in spring, yes, that's my top, come here. At the moment, given that we're in spring, and also at the moment, given that we are in lockdown, the goats are actually going out every single day around the school grounds, and we're letting them go out very freely. So the goats are recall trained. They're very good at coming back when we call Bangles. Now obviously the boys aren't called Bangles, but they have learned as a herd that when we call Bangles, they all come running back, the boys follow mum, and they then get a treat for coming back. We are hopeful that this is something that they can continue doing, this free browsing, when school comes back into session, and we're hopeful that they can continue their role as school gardeners and keeping all of the grass and all of the plants nicely trimmed and in check. I'm just giving Bangles a really good scratch. Her winter coat's coming off quite patchy, and so she's got all these little wispy bits of fur that are just coming off, and so she's just sitting here really enjoying me giving her a nice scratch whilst I'm being attacked by Jean and by Paul. I never thought that when we were doing the goat videos that it would be quite so painful. I had visions of them sitting really nicely whilst we filmed. Apparently not. They are little terrible 2s going into their terrible 3s, and they are right pains. So we're reaching the end of our video on diet and habitat now. I hope you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about our goats. Tune in tomorrow to find out about their adaptations. Thanks guys, bye!